Alright, I'm gonna call the July 12th, 2018, 6:30 Lakeland Shores City Council meeting to order. Kim, would you take roll call, please?
Yes, Councilmember Schroeder.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Bashad.
Here.
Councilmember Kopesky.
Present.
Mayor Zeller.
Here. If you'd join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item of business is to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda for July 12th.
Is there a second? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Next item is the consent agenda. If there are any items that you'd like pulled for discussion, we can. Any council members, any concerns? I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Public comments. Anybody like to comment on an item that's not on the agenda? Doubt it. Kim, any written comments?
No.
Okay. I did receive a phone call regarding the bike path from a concerned citizen. They had heard that there was going to be an alliance meeting to discuss that, and they wanted to make sure that when we were aware of that time and place of that meeting, that we did our best to make them aware. I'll do my best to call that individual directly, but that was the only public comment I received this month.
Have we heard anything?
Haven't heard anything. Last communication was from Richard Glasgow that he had kind of a busy month and that he hadn't had a chance to get anything scheduled. There is a formal meeting with the county that is scheduled. That's the end of August. I'll make sure I get that date, but that's the meeting where if anything's going to occur, it has to happen at that meeting. We can't make a decision at an alliance meeting. That's just an open discussion. So, all right. With that, we'll move on to unfinished and new business. Item A, consideration of resolution number 2018-03, application for street vacation. We covered this last month. We had a series of questions as a result of that discussion, so we had a meeting on site with the applicant, had a chance to review our thoughts and our concerns. They provided additional information, potential layout. I also had a follow-up conversation with John that I really appreciate. The on-site meeting, my direction or my thought was I'd really like to avoid the vacation of the street. In my follow-up conversation with John, and John, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but you said this might actually be a good instance to vacate the street, since half of it has already been vacated years ago to the other property owner. By vacating it, we solved some setback issues, so you would adjust that site plan ever so slightly so that you don't need any variances, and you'll come under the impervious surface allotment. So with John's help, I've changed my personal opinion on what we need to do, and I do think that vacating the street is what we should do. This particular portion, the 33-foot section that the applicant asked for. With that, Kim, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Mayor and council members, I will just note that the city attorney had indicated with the memo for at the last meeting that the city council certainly has the authority to vacate this section of the right-of-way if you see fit and determine that it's a good thing for the city.
And I guess I should clarify that if that is the wish of the council, we need to make sure that we retain utility easement and access easement for the utilities. John, do you have anything you wanna add?
Nope, that's the only thought I had there is that, utility easement should be retained.
Okay. Council discussion? I believe, Kim, you prepared a draft resolution.
So, I have a question, so that's just basically this chunk right here in the shaded area,
It is that chunk exactly.
that one's already gone?
I don't know that it's
Previous
that
one?
one, Tim, I think it's just below your fingertip.
Right there.
Yeah, there's some redundancy in their request, it's just to effectively guarantee that,
That's gone.
yeah.
And then there, yeah, this piece here is already scanning, has already been vacated.
Okay, and then the separate part.
That's in Lakeland, up
Okay.
there, so
We're not doing anything with that.
So then,
it's just that shaded area. And then they'd have separate action or separate approval would be presumably given to have their driveway over the southerly portion as a,
Correct.
like a license or whatever the attorney recommended you use, a easement or a license agreement or something.
Right, over the lower portion.
Yeah.
But we're not necessarily considering that this evening, right? We're only considering the vacation for the area shown?
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes without saying that we'll work through that access portion at a later date. Now, one of the property owners, did ask, well, if there's a road or a driveway, across that easement, or that right-of-way that we're keeping, would they be able to utilize that to access their backyard? And that seemed reasonable enough. We talked about it on site. I think the applicant agrees. It is city property. I shared with them it wasn't the intent of that driveway because it's not likely going to be built to a city road standard. So that's not the intent that it's a city road necessarily. But that was the only comment that I recall from our onset meeting. So the item that we're dealing with specifically is the application to vacate that 33-foot section.
Mayor and council members, if the council chooses to make a decision on this resolution, I would recommend that you add two conditions: that the city retain the utility easement, and all fees and escrows are paid and up to date.
Okay. And is that draft resolution 2018-03?
Yes.
Any discussion?
So do we have in there what utilities?
Yes. Because we previously received comment from the utility companies and the county. So those have been identified.
I'd note though that, just for the record, that when you do a utility easement like that, unless you're specific about which utility, it would allow any of those utilities to locate in there. So if, for instance, Comcast may or may not be in there now, they're probably overhead.
Mm-hmm.
And, so there'd be a utility easement retained that that would be in the favor of the city really to grant other utilities able to locate in there if you needed to. Is my understanding.
And then can I assume that our attorney is the one drafting the easement agreement?
Mayor and council members, I would believe that the city attorney would absolutely draft that agreement, and I think that would be part of the CUP application.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys are awfully quiet. I don't know if you're feeling the same that I am on this, or if you're
Oh, yeah, I am.
uncomfortable with
I'm
it,
just-
or different thoughts.
So, with the easement, can they put a hard surface over it?
Yes.
Okay, but then they have to know that if they ever have to get in there, that'll be disturbed at their expense.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, okay. That was the only thing I was concerned about.
At whose expense?
The property owner.
owners. Is there a setback from any of them utilities?
Nope. But it's 33 feet, so once they're located, they certainly could choose to put their hard surface on the portion of the 33 feet that the easement or the utility isn't under.
Okay.
But again, all we're dealing with is the vacation. They'll be coming forward with an application for the building itself and a conditional use permit. Alright, I'm going out on a limb here. You guys aren't giving me much to go with here. So I'm hoping there's a consensus. I'm gonna make a motion that we approve resolution number 2018-03 as presented, vacating a portion of the street as applied for with two additional whereases. One, that the city would retain utility easement, the specifics to be drafted by the city attorney, and the item, the second whereas, that all fees are paid and current up to date before the vacation is actually recorded. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second.
Any discussion?
I do. On the resolution number, then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, whereas 4/5 of all members of the city council concur. We don't know that.
I think a 4/5 vote is required in order for it to pass.
I understand that.
So maybe it says a 4/5 vote is required. We could change the verbiage. Or frankly, I don't know that it matters. We could remove it altogether.
I think I would just assume just take it out of there because we're going to vote and it's all going to be public record anyway.
Kim?
Mayor and council members, if in fact a 4/5 vote is not granted here, the resolution will not be passed. So that's why it states that, because by law, 4/5 vote is required for this resolution.
I think the confusion though is what if you have a 5 out of 5? The resolution suggests that they're 4/5 approved. So I think it's just a verbiage issue.
Shall we add must?
A minimum of 4/5 or
4/5 of all members, 4 members of the city council must concur.
at least a 4/5 something. You understand so you'll wordsmith that for us.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? Would you like to take roll call, Kim?
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bischoff,
Yes.
Councilmember Kopesky,
Yes.
Mayor Zeller.
Yes. Resolution passes. Get that application complete. Let's get you in there before the ground freezes, huh? Hard to imagine, but that's right around the
Have you been
corner.
outside?
This is the easy part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, thanks for working with us. Yep. The next item is consideration of pavement crack sealing bid. John?
So Mayor, members of the council, this is the one that I just handed out, this color, this sort of off-white or ivory color, if you wanna pull that one up. There was one in your packet, I had to get to Kim before packets went out, but in fact, we had a deadline of like end of the day last Friday to get bids in, so we have since received a couple more bids than what you saw previously. We have 3 bids total for the crack sealing work. And you'll see them listed in this memo. The low bid submitted by Gopher State Seal Coat is in the amount of $5,782. It is a Gopher State Seal Coat is a company that we have had experience with in the past. They've done fine work. And when we presented a budget for the council last month as part of that CIP spreadsheet, about almost $12,000 of that amount was for crack sealing. So this amount comes in well
Crack
below
sealing,
that.
is yellow?
And the city council can consider awarding that at this time. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Give me a call, so let me know. I'm sorry I'm distracted here. I just was looking for the list of streets. There is a list of
Yeah,
streets
on the back of it.
on the back, if you're interested in that. I'll try and get my head on straight here, but you'll see the list is on each bid, so there's a copy of each of the 3 bids there, and the list of streets is there. And that, again, is based on, the recommendations in that spreadsheet, if you're curious about which streets are included.
Okay. And you're recommending approval. Does this concern you at all that, I mean, one is half of the other?
Right, and you know what, we've
This is
seen
good.
this spread,
Yeah.
we've seen this spread with this type of work before, so it doesn't concern me. I do ask them to submit the lineal feet of cracks that they estimate. Now, they have to do what the specification calls for regardless of what their estimate is. But I'm not concerned. My past experience has been that there's been quite a spread with these kind of bids before. And we've always had good luck in being able to get the contract to do the work we wanted to do for the price they quoted.
So, John, do you walk around afterwards or drive around your truck or whatever you do and make sure that, I mean, when I'm walking on the streets, it's hard to know for someone that doesn't know what this is all about, okay? I mean, you have an idea of the obvious cracks, okay?
Yep.
But then there's ones that don't seem quite so obvious. And, you know, can we be pretty much assured that the lower bid is going to cover as much as the more expensive bids?
Right, we can contractually, because we require them to bid each street on a lump sum basis. So, in other words, the specification tells them they have to seal every crack that's more than I think it's either a quarter or an eighth of an inch open. And those that are still tight, they don't need to do. And those that are, and they need to route and seal each one. And so what we can do after their work is done, they'll request payment or they'll call and say that they're finished with their work. We can do an inspection. And I have had, in fact, with this contractor in Afton about 12 years ago, I did go out and marked, you know, a number of cracks that I felt like they missed, and they came back and took care of them. And a couple weeks later, we were recommending payment. So
You use the words, "we can do a inspection."
So, yeah, so.
How about "we will do an inspection"?
That's completely up to you. So some cities are comfortable with letting the contractor finish their work and make the payment without us going out there to look at it. Other cities would rather have us go out and inspect it, and so that's why I say we can, because it's not necessarily, handled the same way in every city.
Will it increase our cost if we say you will go out there?
Yeah, we'll have to
Sure, I
reimburse
mean,
You
John
have
for
Not
his
to the
time.
contractor, though.
Huh?
Not to the contractor. I mean, just a couple hours
Just
Of your time to go out and look at it.
Well, I'll be glad to take a look at it, but I'm not sure sometimes that I know what I'm looking at. And, you know, so if I go out and take a look at it and then I'm concerned, I'll give you a call and,
Yeah, so
and
I go out with a can of spray paint.
uh-huh.
And then if you see one you have a question about, put a circle around. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just circle the one part of the crack. We go out and look at it together.
Either that or we contract with John, but you go with them so that.
Right, yeah, no, that's fine. I'd love to have the experience, but
Is that part
Let's
of
do
your
it that way.
services when you guys do the contract or?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is like any other city engineer task you ask us to do. You don't need a special contract for me to do it. You just need to tell me you want it done. And if Councilmember Bischoff wants to take a run at it first,
no, that's fine.
that's just fine. And
John, I'm thinking that I'd like to have you do it, but I'd like to have John go with you so that he's looking at what you're looking at, and I don't mean it to sound demeaning, but he's learning.
that's fine with me. Yeah, that's just fine.
So your recommendation is that we approve this low bid?
That's right.
And John, is that your recommendation as well?
That would be mine. If there's no difference, I don't understand how there can be almost double and in another case triple the difference in it, but as long as we're getting some assurance that the jobs are 95% similar, I don't know why you wouldn't take the lower bid,
I just have one question. On the northern part of our town, we share half a street with Lakeland and Lakeland Shores, and I can't remember what street that is.
Third
And
is one of them. That's the longest one.
And are we doing that one?
No.
Okay.
Nope, so the list of streets there is on the back,
Okay.
and I don't think we have any shared streets. I mean, Quixote Avenue North there, you could call it shared, but really it's an end of the block thing, so it's not a split down the middle thing.
Okay, so we have nothing on that. Okay, thank you.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we award the pavement crack sealing bid to the low bid, Gopher State Seal Coat Inc. out of Savage, Minnesota, in the amount of $5,782, and that when their work is complete, that our city engineer and our streets commissioner would inspect their work to confirm that everything was done to spec. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Yeah, is there any proposed timeline here that we're talking about?
Yeah, I didn't bring the contract with me. It's end of September or something, I think.
It would be done by the end of September?
Yeah,
or
you forgive me if I'm wrong, it could be
Okay.
October, but it's in the fall, there's a date certain where, crack sealing work needs to be done. It's typically weather driven. If it happens to be a real warm fall, they can do it later, but
You mean they prefer to do it in cooler weather?
no, they need to do it in warmer weather.
Warmer.
Yeah, so that the pavement becomes a little more brittle when it gets cold, so it works better when it's.
And you're comfortable with the bid that you have seen, that it's done within the timely basis?
Yeah,
Okay,
they certify to that when they sign their bid.
okay.
Any other questions or comments? Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Item C, consideration of street patching quotes. This is one where I think maybe we'll have a
Yeah,
little
you'll
more
have a
discussion.
little discussion around this one there, and that's just fine. I did request quotes from 3 different spray patching contractors. This is the blue sheet, the updated version, and so we did receive 2 quotes from the three contractors contacted. RCM Specialties submitted the low quote, the amount of $9,675, and they have done this work in Lakeland Shores in the past. They've done this work throughout the valley in the past, and they do good work. Again, whether council feels like in your discretion it's money worth spent this year or not is another discussion, but just in terms of whether this contractor does good work, whether they're qualified, whether the bid is reasonable, we would recommend you consider award, if you're going to award, to RCM Specialties. Barner Asphalt also submitted bid. Let's see, it's about a little over $5,000 higher, and they also do good work. That I don't see there's any benefit to the extra cost.
So to John Bishop's point, 4th Street is included in there, and that's scheduled for a mill overlay next year.
Yeah, so we have it on the schedule for a mill overlay next year, and that's probably the one that's driving the majority of the cost there.
So I understand, and I'll drive it on the way back, but I understand there's a number of pretty significant small holes. This isn't necessarily going to, well, it would address those.
It would.
But it might be overkill if it's only needed for a year.
It could be, yes. If you're gonna mill an overlay next year, you could consider doing, the cheaper option, having somebody do, if it's not the council member who's been doing patching, you could have another contractor come in and do the faster approach and save some of that cost.
John, would you accept help if we were willing to help bang out 4th Street with some
Sure, yeah.
temp patching?
I don't have any problem. What about, Tim, what about 2nd Street South, or Randy, or whoever lives over in that direction? I hadn't noticed, but I don't travel that street as much as I probably ought to. What's the story with that one?
There's holes, but, I live with them. It's funny when I go out with my leaf blower,
Uh-huh.
and if you're not watching real close, all of a sudden you're blowing up the street. Can't quite figure that out.
What do you mean you're blowing up the street?
The pavement comes up from the blower.
How big is your leaf blower?
Oh, tornado.
Somebody have to get a governor on that thing.
Yeah. It's 220. John, I
Well,
have a
yeah,
question.
okay.
How come they did a really nice job, or somebody did, it says each road, we're going back to this one, didn't they want to do that to this one, or is that, you can't do
I
that?
just didn't ask them to do it. I I gave them a list of streets and told them which ones to bid, and
It is here though on the last page, streets to include.
Yeah, it doesn't say how
Second
much.
Street North,
This-
Lakeland Shores Road.
Well, that's on the Farner bid
yeah.
though.
Right, yeah.
yeah, it's on their bid, but they're.
So is this, we're both gonna do
It's
the
the
same
same
thing?
spec.
It's the same spec,
Same
okay,
spec, yeah.
all right.
I didn't bring you the whole bid package.
Okay, that's fine.
Is Lakeland Shores
Sorry,
gonna
I'm
need to
always
be
trying to
done?
balance how much
Is what?
paper to give
Is
you.
Lakeland
because
Shores
it
Road gonna need to be done?
can get a little cumbersome in your
Either-
package.
Okay,
either
so
the
they're,
Second
okay,
Street North, no?
so the street, they're gonna do Second Street South is on there then, Fourth Street South. Oh, Fourth Street's on there.
So, John,
Mhm.
here's what I'm struggling with. I absolutely believe that we need to do preventative maintenance. The good news, bad news is John Bishop's been out there filling a lot of these already, and doing a pretty good job. So how do we reevaluate what we bid and then adjust the bid accordingly?
Yeah, so these guys probably both, I know RCM, they have a formula, they go out and do an estimate of the size of the holes, behind the scenes, they don't show us all the math. And they have a cost per ton of aggregate or cost per gallon, and that's how they develop their bid. So what I would be comfortable with, is a recommendation to, if you want to do some portion of what was bid, that I can either put council member in touch with RCM directly, or we can somehow coordinate that. Just have them revise their bid for what's left, or what you actually want done. And it doesn't have to come back to you. In other cities, councils will authorize awarding, let's just say, I'm gonna pick a number, $5,000 of patching to be coordinated with the streets commissioner, to RCM specialties. That's a type of action I've seen some councils do. This is not as formal a process as some of the contract bids that you see us prepare with thick project manuals and all that sort of thing. This is a little bit more on the side of, active negotiation. You got a price set here, and you can choose one of these contractors to negotiate a
So,
final product.
in your professional opinion, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, but if we pull 4th Street South out of there,
Mhm.
and I think that an awful lot of work has already been done to Lakeland Shores Road. I don't know about the others. I mean, do you feel like if we approved an expenditure of not to exceed $6,000, that we're adequately funding it, given the changes we're gonna make?
Yeah, it could be. I haven't had the benefit of seeing what's already been done, but if you, fourth, if you're gonna pull fourth out for the most part entirely, I guess you're probably telling us more about a half or so. But you
So,
won't know that till you meet with the contractor.
Tim, with
Yeah,
your
I guess
experience, what do you think?
Well, I guess I'm looking at 27 tons. That's a lot. And I guess I don't know how many holes there are. In this one quote, they have 27 tons, so you're looking at 54,000 pounds of material. So I'm trying to think, is this going to take a day, or how long would it take?
Yeah, probably. I bet it's less than a day.
So we're looking at less than a day's work for 10 grand, and then but
Thank you, Tim. I just think that, I've been meaning to get to the one at Division Court there down at the end, and I don't know about 4th Street, what I can do about that, but I think, to me, I remember, did they come by 2 years ago, or was it 3 years ago that our RCM did that?
I think that's probably 3 years ago.
Time gets by me, so.
Yeah, I just don't know whether it was.
Before my time.
Yeah, so it was 3 years ago. It wasn't any longer than that ago, because I remember them doing it, and the process is quite remarkable, I think, of the way they do it. But they missed the ones out in front of your house there because
was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yep, because of the fact that you had some construction vehicles in the way, and they went around it. And I just think that let's punt on spray emulsion patching this year. I just don't.
Skip it altogether?
Skip it altogether. I'll do what I can, okay? And if 4th Street's going to be if we're going to redo it next year, which I think we should, because it's just a perpetual problem, then we can do it. Why do it? Why spend? If I remember right, the guy said blew off almost $3,000 when they did it, and it's either 2 or 3 years ago when RCM came through there, when they came back and did it. His operator did it by mistake,
Oh,
you know, and it had to have been at least 3, if not 3 to 4, okay, because it was bad. It was really bad then, okay, and so my feeling is we can get by another year. I'm all for preventive maintenance, but to me, I just think the price is not worth what we're getting out of it, and especially if we're really going to do a mill and overlay on 4th Street next year, and so.
I absolutely agree with you on 4th Street, and I fundamentally agree with you on Lakeland Shores Road, just because I know how much work you've already done. I'm a little concerned blowing it off 100%, but I'm not as knowledgeable on it as both of you are, and I'm also not comfortable with you out there doing all the work. That's not
Hey,
a solution.
that's what retirement's all about. You get to do, you get to volunteer at different things, and I really don't. It
The
doesn't
only
bother
way
me.
I would agree to pass on it as a whole is if we set up a weekend or something and we got as many volunteers as possible and we banged it out, if you accepted some help.
Yeah, I'd be glad to accept help, but But
John,
you know,
are we
I-
being penny wise and pound foolish if we do that?
No,
You can say yes.
well,
I'm just letting.
you know, there's a couple of cities down here that are unique, you know, your population around 1,000 or 300 or wherever you are, and, you know, it's a different set of rules, you're a smaller community, and
Well, we're cheap.
I completely respect wanting to try and give it a shot yourself, you know, and my experience is that you don't get the same end product, but I don't think
No.
you're kidding yourselves to think that you are. So, but if you're able to do it for what amounts to next to nothing, if you get 6 months or a year out of it, heck, I mean, that's a lot of bang for
I
your
mean,
buck.
as it is, we only got 2 years out of some of it.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so.
It sounds like you're doing better than what I see from some contractors that walk
Right,
around and
I
shovel
watched
some
Tri-County
stuff.
do it, and, you're absolutely right, they just throw it in and they move on to the next hole, but I'd be interested to see how it holds up. I mean, really in front of, the mayor's house there, it was just, not good. I mean, as a matter of fact, when Brian came out and wanted to wash the hole, it made it even worse because it began to peel back the actual layer. I mean, made the hole, instead of being 2 feet long, it made it 3.5 feet long.
I figured as long as he's out there.
So there's two thoughts come to
Nice to have
mind
friends.
Right,
as we're discussing this. One is, one concern, I think because we're on the record here, I wanna make sure gets mentioned. When you're trying to do it yourself like that, traffic control is a safety issue. You guys aren't exactly set up with a public works department full of cones and signs and that sort of thing. So on the record,
We know
I'll
where to
mention
steal.
that for your consideration. And then if you ever end up in a situation where water has been used or you want to do this in dry condition ideally.
He
So-
did. He waited a
you
couple
let
of
it
days.
dry, then I think John maybe even told me that when we talked on the phone the other day. So you want to do it when it's dry, and that's where you'll get your best results. Be careful.
Yep.
John, on this blue piece of paper there are 4 streets. 1, 2, 3, 4. On this that you just handed out here tonight, July 12th, are these 4 streets under the 2018 column?
Yeah, they're the ones with the Ps. There's four streets with Ps in front of them, or PC.
And if you add those, you know what they are. Add those 4 up, and please tell me what that number is.
What number is it?
How many streets total?
No, there's 4 streets, and each street has a dollar amount, correct?
Oh,
What is that
Oh.
dollar amount?
Well,
That was in the
So
first
in my-
page.
yeah,
We
in
had
my-
budgeted $10,096.
so.
Right
yeah,
here.
So it's not
This was a rough estimate on
So
this thing.
these are budgeting estimates, and the ones with PECs, for instance, those 2 streets have dollars in them for patching and dollars in them for crack sealing, so I did pull back the numbers out. I think the number you're looking for is at 10,096.
Okay,
That's what we had budgeted.
Is what you have budgeted for patching. on those 4 streets. And then you'll notice that at the bottom of that spreadsheet, there's a $4,000 placeholder that actually does increase each year with some inflation, that is just meant to catch the things on the other streets that might crop up through the course of the summer. So you have another $4,000 in theory for 2018 to do patching if something else comes up in the fall.
So we budgeted for it, but we don't necessarily have to spend it if the streets aren't all that bad.
Right.
That's right.
Or if we feel we're not getting the bang for the dollar.
You feel like you can do it cheaper or something.
Yep.
These are all recommendations and guidance for council to make decisions. It's not a requirement.
Well, I'm willing to try it for a year. I'm nervous, but I'm willing to try it for a year. I think we have to just have a real hard look at it, an honest review of it next year to see if it was the right decision or not, but I think it's a calculated risk worth trying.
Yeah.
On all 4 streets?
Yep. So, would that require an action from us to deny both proposals?
You know, I say go all the way. I'm fine with just not taking
Okay.
action.
And I did
So
our road,
if you take no action, then I've got nothing to award to the contract.
The one that's not on here
That's fine with
is
me. If there
Division
was an
Court
attorney in the room that felt differently, I'd defer.
down at the cul-de-sac.
Mhm,
There's some places there.
So is that the consensus of the council?
I didn't look at Second Street.
Tim?
So,
Yeah.
4th Street
Tom?
is just a shit show.
and we don't do
Yeah.
any of those either bid?
No.
And we could
The
probably
first
do
one
we
we've already
do the
taken
first
action.
That one we
Yep.
did.
next year
Okay.
anything.
Okay,
I
yeah,
spent
I got you.
$400.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Are you guys with us?
Yes.
Yeah, well, today.
So, the consensus is that we're not gonna move forward with 2018 street patching. And we're not gonna take a motion or take a formal vote as long as we have a consensus to that effect. You're on board, Randy?
We're on board.
All right, we'll move on to item D. Consideration of resolution number 2018-04, appointment of 2018 election judges. I'm gonna say, I am so grateful that these people are willing to serve. Because, you know, it is fairly training intense and, training specific, and I think the city's been fortunate to have, if not all of these same volunteers, the majority of them for years, so I personally am grateful that they're willing to do it, and I'd make a motion that we approve the appointment.
Second?
Discussion? Call for a vote. Kim, do you wanna take roll call since it's a resolution?
Mayor and council members, I certainly may, but this is a 3/5, 4/5 is not required, so roll
Okay.
call is not required.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Item E, consideration of resolution number 2018-05, extension of comprehensive plan submission. This is a, kind of a safety measure. There's a likelihood that we won't need an extension, but there's enough of a chance that we will, that we're gonna request one. And that's at the advice of Mark Nagel, who is our consultant that's helping us with that. So I'd make a motion that we approve resolution number 2018-05, asking for an extension of the comprehensive plan submission. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Questions or discussion?
Yeah, I'm curious as to how much this has cost us so far. Do we have any idea?
Less than $3,000. He's anticipating he's gonna be under budget as a whole. He has had some communication with John. He's also had some communication with, the Middle St. Croix Water Management Organization, and some additional conversation with, the review board here, help me, Met Council, about, is it our water drainage plan, John?
Local surface water management plan?
Thank you, local service water management plan, and, you know, of course, I had asked the question, John, I'm sure you're shocked. Community that it's our size, that's 100% built out, how much could have changed? Because I wanna say the anticipated cost was approximately $10,000
That's what it's costing us to do these, yeah.
to do a full update.
Although you're last, so be less.
So he's working on that, but we had estimated about a $5,000 total cost, and I think we're gonna be closer to the 3,500. And then that surface water management plan, that's an additional cost that we may or may not incur. Some of it or all of it. Does that help?
Yep, thank you.
Call for a vote. All those in favor signify with the sign of aye.
And just a quick question, just on the bottom, just so I'm reading it correctly, we are asking for an extension to December 31st of 2019.
Correct.
Got it.
2019.
All those in favor
That's
signify
right.
with the sign of aye.
Is it 05 or 04?
The resolution number's
It is
Five.
05.
Yeah,
it's 05.
okay. Says 04 on the print.
How many yays do we have? Yay?
Yay.
Yay?
Yep.
5 yays. Move on to council and staff reports. John, do you have anything more for us?
I just think I'll wrap up the CIP discussion with the plans for projects next year. There's a rejuvenator and an overlay project that we just talking about, some at the workshop preceding and some just now. And so I don't need your direction at this moment, but I would like to get the council thinking about giving direction to prepare those bidding documents sometime before end of October, because we can put you in the best bidding position in January and February, and that's where we get the best prices. So if we can think about, if you all can think about authorizing us to do that sometime this fall, we can start.
Is there any reason we couldn't do that right now?
You can do it right now, and then we would do it with the understanding that we would wanna get you out for bid in January or February.
I would say so authorized.
If you're, okay, so that's it, we'll put that on our list and we'll get those taken care of. So, I think that's about all I have. Does anybody have any engineering questions we haven't talked about or?
I had mentioned at the end of our workshop, there's been some concern by at least one local official about the bike path and there's a preference that we would plow that or maintain that all winter long. We had a workshop on it, and there was a strong turnout. The Snowmobile Club was there, a number of other people were there, opposed to the idea of maintaining that trail. I guess I'm fundamentally opposed to maintaining it. I think about that Snowmobile Club maintained that previous trail for X number of years. And even though we're not bound to that previous agreement, I still think there's something to be said for their efforts. There's concern that, there's wear and tear as a result of the snowmobiles and the studs they're using, but the studs are illegal, so to me that's an enforcement issue. And then I guess my other concern is we don't have the money in the budget to be plowing that trail and making sure that it's dry and safe all winter, but that's my point of view. Do you have any, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, because there's 5 communities gonna weigh in on it, so without putting you on the spot, I mean, are there items that I'm missing or other things I should consider?
Well, I don't think so, Mayor. I don't think you're really missing anything. I think, the items that you already mentioned are things that I would offer if they weren't already suggested. The pictures that I've seen, and I'll be honest, this year I haven't been out to look at the damage, but I've seen it plenty over the years of the old trail. It's either from studs and or the skids on the
Wear bars.
Skis, the wear bars. It's a combination of the two is what I see when I go out there and look at it. And it is, in its purest sense, it is a regulation that's being violated. It's an enforcement issue. Most of the damage that I see is what most engineers would call, superficial, or it's not really getting down into the structure.
Mhm.
But of course, when you've just had a brand new paved surface, it doesn't look very good. It's scratched up. It's not any fun to look at, and I don't know how it affects people like on rollerblades or something like that. Taking down to
So I ride that trail with my skinny tires. And I rode it with a council member last week, and I said, all right, we have to pay attention now and just ride this trail. I expected to see wear at the intersections. The superficial scratches that I saw were more mid-trail, between intersections, so that must be people coming in and out of the ditch is my only thought. If it's even caused by a snowmobile. I don't know that there's any guarantee of that, because they're about that long with a slight arc to them.
Oh,
Those are off the wear bars on the front.
Okay.
Skis. They have carbide inserts on them.
No, those are off from rollerblades.
Hmm.
If they're
Yeah.
going like this,
Roll-
snowmobiles go.
So it wasn't the
snowmobiles-
damage.
In the wintertime, people are out there.
On rollerblades.
Oh,
Rubber wheels.
skis.
Rubber wheels.
Anyway, bottom line, you don't, okay, go ahead, John.
So, that's the wear and tear that I guess I witnessed. I think it's an enforcement issue.
yeah, so, and again, if I just purely look at it from an engineering perspective, I haven't been witness to damage that's structural in nature. Most of it's pseudo-cosmetic, if you will, but at the same time, people don't like it, and it becomes a policy thing, I think.
Okay, I just wanted to, and I'm sorry I did put you on the spot and I didn't mean to, but I'm just, if there's any technical or if there's any other angle that we should be considering, I guess I wanted to make sure we were. I did notice north of the old Pine Grove, south of Jimmy's Pizza, so closer to the old Pine Grove, you know, that vacant lot on the
Yeah,
corner,
yep.
there were cracks running east to
Sure.
west already.
East-west, so
Yeah.
transverse, okay.
Yeah, the entire length, and I would say there were, and they're small, but I was
Started
very,
cracking.
I was very surprised to see that it's cracking already.
Yeah, it was only last year, right, or was it 2 years?
Last year.
They've already
Yeah,
come
it's,
through
that's
there
pretty unusual.
and done
That's pretty unusual for you to get that cracking that quick. I mean, you'll get it after a
I
couple of
mean,
years.
not a lot of
but-
it, but, you know.
Guys,
You could ask the county, engineer to come out and look and see if there's a warranty issue. You know, cause the warranties typically go a year after the contract is closed out, so.
well, like I say, there is a formal meeting with the county, I'll make sure you all know the date, but, I'll mention that to the county engineers.
It'd be worth looking at.
Okay. All right, city clerk,
Mayor and council members, all I have for you this evening is, the thought of scheduling a 2019 budget meeting, work session.
I would say, when do we have to, establish the no higher than number?
The preliminary budget is approved at the September meeting.
And do we know if the applicant that we approved the vacation for, if they're gonna be on next month's agenda?
He has not gotten to me all the application materials yet, so we're running a little, tight with time, I don't know.
My thinking is that we may not need an August and September meeting. So I would say we either do it August, prior to the council meeting, August or September, depending on our workload.
I can tell you, I won't be able to make the August meeting on August 2nd. If you wanted to make it a week later, I certainly could, but I can't,
Okay.
make the August 2nd.
What are your thoughts? I mean, budget's the biggest thing we do all
Yeah.
year, so I wanna make sure we give it the time and attention, but then again, there aren't that many moving parts to our budget.
Will our treasurer be there?
Yes. So,
Will they have
Kim,
their-
let's say September, assuming, we don't meet in August.
Okay. And would you like to start that a half hour or 1 hour before your meeting?
I think we can cover it in a half hour. What do you think, John?
I don't know, we were rushed tonight on the important subject of roads, and that was just one component. You know, I don't see any reason why at least 45 minutes, a half hour is kind of tough to get anything done in, I think.
Let's do it 45 minutes. We were a little rushed tonight, but we got a little bit of a late start. Somebody didn't
Some
have the
didn't have all that
copies.
paperwork.
But you're right. I wanna make sure we have enough time.
What time?
Nothing else, Kim?
No.
All right. I meant to point this out in our minutes that I gave credit to Lakeland for their work on the center medians, not the street sweeping. Our minutes say that I credited them. They're doing a great job on their street sweeping. Our center medians look amazing this year.
Yeah.
They have done an incredible job, and they've never looked that good. So that's Jim Stanton and his staff, including his wife, worked on that, and they look fantastic. So I want to say it's going to save us in the end. It's going to be about half of what it is normally costs, and it looks better than it's ever looked. So I want to make sure I said that. And then I just wanted to thank John, because he did fix a significant pothole in front of my house, and I've seen him out there working on other streets, and I think you're doing an amazing job, and just wanted to recognize you and say thank you. That's all I have. Randy.
No special report, Mayor.
Okay. Tim?
I want to say also, I, like myself, I personally called Jim and thanked him how nice the medians looked.
Good.
Because I know they get flack for other stuff or whatever, but they never get kudos to when everything is done good, so. And then the only other thing I would recommend is that we look at is, the building inspections for, I know our contract is up at the end of the year.
Kim, would you review that contract? I do believe it expires the end of this year, but what our notice period is if we plan to not extend? We'll have to have that
And
discussion.
what are our options for moving forward, so. And I'll
Okay.
be checking into that too also,
Okay,
so.
great.
Okay, that's it?
John?
A couple things. One, are we actually actively looking for a new attorney for the town?
That's a great question. So, I reached out to a couple of people that I know, and in fact had a conversation with an attorney last night. The challenge is, there's kind of two firms that do the majority of the work in the valley here, and I think there's something to be said for us having somebody that's a little bit more independent, and that was the case with Mr. Magnuson. We were the only city other than Stillwater that he was representing. So I did get the name of a firm and an individual that came recommended by two different people actually. Had a brief conversation with him and asked him to put together a proposal for us. I don't know that our contract's big enough to really go out for a request for proposal. I don't think we're spending $2,000-3,000 annually, and most of that is prosecution work. So obviously the council has to approve someone, but that's what I've done to date. And I thought as soon as we got a proposal that I'd distribute it to everyone and see what people's thoughts were. But I think if you're in that industry or know people in that industry, if you have someone that you'd recommend, we're certainly open to that.
I mean, I think it's difficult considering how little we use them.
Right.
And so it's not like it's an attractive thing for people unless they're trying to get into the business, and I'm not sure we want to have somebody that's brand new to it.
Right.
So, no, that sounds good. The other thing, I got a couple other issues. One is I keep getting some criticism from one of our constituents about our website not being up to date, that type of thing. And in conjunction with that, I also have the issue of our lack of contact, which I've mentioned, I guess, a couple of meetings ago, with our constituents as far as giving them any news as to what's going on. And it comes to my mind at this particular time point because of the fact that we have two vacancies on the city council coming up, or two elections, and as well as
And the mayor.
and the mayor's position. And I just think that it's important that people be aware of it. So I would like to either have a newsletter go out of a very limited nature. It doesn't have to be 4 or 5 pages of just fluff, okay, the same old crap. Or, we send out a postcard, which, are there more than, is that 100 families, or addresses? I don't
About
know.
120 homes.
Okay,
I can
so you're
cover it in
talking-
my scooter in
So you're-
45
So you're
minutes.
talking, but even if you send it out by mail, it's 35 cents a stamp if it's a postcard. You're talking about $50 or less.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and with maybe just an indication that there is an election coming up, and the other most important thing being where we're voting. Okay, I just think that people are going to be shocked when they walk into Afton Lakeland School and it's not there. Okay, and not that they shouldn't be aware of it on their own, but I just feel like we owe it to the people that are electing people that they have an idea of where the voting area is. And I think if we could either have the postcard with what's coming up as far as vacancies go on the city council and the mayor position, as well as the new voting place, and the fact that maybe on our website we're going to have a place with, in the future, with important new issues, a label like that or whatever it is that would draw their attention to, what might be very rarely hot topics in the city council, but, something that they might be interested in, okay, rather than a newsletter.
Kim's got her pen up for me. Kim?
Mayor and council members, on the front page of the website, the vacancies are posted,
Mhm.
the filing dates are posted, and the new polling location is posted. In addition, the county is sending out postcards to everyone about the new polling location.
Okay.
The vacancies required by law are published in your newspaper twice. That is closer to the general election. We're just coming up to the primary.
Right.
The filing dates were also published in your legal newspaper.
What are the filing dates again?
July 31st through August 14th.
31st through the 14th. Okay. Well, John, I agree. You've raised this a couple of times, and I agree. And Kim provided me a copy of a couple of previous newsletters, so there's a format available there. It's just frankly a matter of either me sitting down and committing an hour uninterrupted to generating one, or myself and whoever else wants to volunteer. But I don't think it's a bad idea to get a newsletter out at least once a year. So with that, I guess I just need help figuring out who's willing to work on it and banging it out. I think if we had Kim and myself, and if there's another volunteer to just draft something, we could probably, an hour's worth of work, we could probably have something assembled.
I'd be happy to help out. In previous times, we were putting out a newsletter twice
Spring and fall.
spring and fall. I don't know if it's biannually, 2 times a year for this, I don't know what. And, so that's fine, I'd be happy to help out.
Kim, would you be willing to maybe meet down at my office sometime and see if we couldn't come up with one?
Certainly.
To John's point, I don't think it needs to be 8 pages. If we just hit the highlights, maybe summary of what happened last year. There is a constituent from the area that has requested of other cities that they post some mental health programs that are available, or resources that are available to our youth and our citizens. So that's something that we could consider including. YSB has something similar. I don't know if any of the area churches have a message that they'd like to get out there, but maybe a couple of those things are worth mentioning.
And we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. Do you have the template from the previous newsletters?
Yes,
Yes, I think we do.
you provided them to me.
Didn't I provide you the actual?
The actual newsletters, yeah.
I don't believe it's on your new computer,
The actual template.
the template, the program itself to work on, but I will look, I will double check.
If it isn't, do you have access to something, or would you just do that all in Word, or how would you?
Quite honestly, it depends on what you would like.
Okay.
There's
Alright.
certainly programs available, I use Publisher, there's a cost to that.
Who used to do it, Randy?
Sandy.
Sandy did.
Oh, okay.
I think calling Sandy might be worth it, because I swear she told me that it was set up in a way that,
Right.
that, that it was easy, whatever you call it, the software, the
Do
program.
you know what the program
No,
was?
I have no clue.
Okay,
but-
I'll
If it's
check.
Adobe or Acrobat. And I'll look at the 1.5 page cheat sheet that she gave me.
Okay.
Maybe it's referenced there. Okay, so I've got one volunteer.
Well, I'll be glad to show up, but, you know.
Who's bringing the pizza?
All right.
The beer.
Well, I will say though that then that's 3 council members, so we'd have to post it. So we'll throw it out there. Either Randy and I and Kim will handle it. If Randy's not available, we'll pull you in. Okay.
Sounds fine.
All right. You're doing enough there with the
Yeah,
potholes.
that's all, yeah. That's
Oh,
all,
you might wanna put that in the newsletter too, the pothole stuff. No, seriously.
well, I think the fact that we're doing the crack sealing in the fall. Yeah, you
Anything else, John?
No,
Tom?
Couple items. The runs are up at the fire department. Did 44 last month, so we're doing 3 in 2 days, basically, what's going on. We've been meeting on trying to address some of our requirements for vehicles, which are coming up. We've budgeted a lot of things. We're trying to delay a couple items to save some money, and we are now looking at re-chassis-ing our ambulance instead of getting a whole new one. Basically, they will take the box off the back of the truck, roll a new chassis underneath, and bring all the systems inside the box up to current standards. So basically, for lack of a better way of saying it, they're
Refurbishing it.
Yeah, refurbishing it, and it's all going from rocker switches to solid state stuff now. There's a lot of issues there. But estimates right now on a $270,000 ambulance, we could, to $300,000 ambulance, we could save between $30,000 and $60,000 just re-chassing it, which is a very viable option because everything's being upgraded and
But the total savings is only
No.
Well-
10 to 20%?
yeah, because the box is gutted.
Yeah, but you're still using the original chassis and the
No,
original
no,
motor?
no, you're rolling out the chassis and the cab out from underneath, rolling in a new one.
So you're reusing the box?
You're just reusing the box is all you're reusing.
Okay.
So, and in a lot of cases, the difference can be, the condition of the cabinets is what the difference between the 30 and 60,000 are. Does the counter, are there things within there that are structural? And one of the reasons, there's a couple reasons they're looking at this. One is the obvious cost savings, but we're getting into a situation now where they're looking at getting I'm gonna use this term, self-loading gurney. You just roll it up to the back, it hooks up, and you pull it in on its own. The issue that they keep running into with, if you're on a hill and you've gotta wheel someone up into the back of the ambulance uphill, it's been interesting, and we've had a few, how should we say this, we've had a few big people that we've had to have move with the ambulance, and there's concern about injury, a lot of stuff like that, so they're looking at getting this loading rig on their next ambulance. They're actually looking at seeing if they can upgrade the current ambulance to get it on. But that's the thing with the ambulance, they're delaying the new fire truck a year, and they're thinking about, there's a whole issue with duty vehicles and grass rigs, and they're shuffling some of that stuff around to see if we can save some money. But, so a lot of financial stuff is going on in that environment.
Okay. That's it?
That's it.
I'd move we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Awesome.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.